Board of County Commissioners acts as a quasi-judicial body when it hears requests for rezoning and conditional use permits. Applicants must provide competent, substantial evidence establishing facts or expert witness opinion testimony showing that the request meets the zoning code and comprehensive plan criteria. Opponents must also testify as to facts or provide expert testimony whether they like or dislike a request is not competent evidence. The board must then decide whether the evidence demonstrates consistency and compatibility with the comprehensive plan and the existing rules in the zoning ordinance, property adjacent to the property to be rezoned, and the actual development of the surrounding area. The board cannot consider speculation, non-expert opinion testimony, or poll the audience by asking those in favor or opposed to stand up or raise their hands. If a commissioner has had communications regarding a rezoning or conditional use permit request before the board, the commissioner must disclose the subject of the communication and the identity of the person, group, or entity with whom the communication took place before the board takes action on the request. Likewise, if a commissioner has made a site visit, inspection, or investigation, the commissioner must disclose that fact before the board takes action on the request. Each applicant is allowed a total of 15 minutes to present their request, unless time is extended by majority vote of the board. The applicant may reserve any portion of the 15 minutes for rebuttal. Other speakers are allowed 5 minutes to speak. Speakers may not pass their time to someone else in order to give that person more time to speak.
All right, before we get rolling, do you all want to keep it with 5 minutes, or do you want to do 3, 4? What do you all want to do as far as public comment? Yeah, not for the applicant. Do you guys want to stick with 3 or 3? Okay, so that just for everyone's benefit, it's going to be 3. And since I'm 6 feet from folks, I'll take this off so y'all can hear me a little better. We'll go ahead and start up with item B, a moment of silence. Commissioner Smith, if you'd lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, I'm going to try to get this taken care of as expediently as we can here. I think there are several items that are probably going to be relatively uncontroversial, so I'll try to get the folks in and out with those items, and then we'll focus the remaining time on the items that really need discussion. The last meeting I did ask to continue what is now listed as item I as in India 1. We do have one public comment card from Diane Weinzerl, and I apologize if I'm butchering her name, from Melbourne. I believe she is actually with the applicant in this item, so my suggestion, if she wants to speak, we'll certainly give her time to do that. But I did have a chance to speak with Robin Peterson, and the short version is there's, at this point, no longer a controversy. So if someone wants to make a motion to approve that item, I'll certainly second it, and we'll see where it goes. But I see a light from Commissioner Zardi.
Yeah, that was just for disclosure.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll keep you on the list here. I've got quite a few disclosures as well. Thank you.
Okay, I'll make a motion.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay.
for your...
Oh, for item I1?
Yeah.
Okay, so Commissioner Zardi made a motion to approve item I1. We've got a second from Commissioner Smith. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, so let me see what I just got here so I'm not skipping anyone. Okay, so here's the game plan. I've gone ahead, as I've done I think a couple meetings ago, and just pre-recorded as quickly as humanly possible the intro for all the items. So Logan, let's go ahead and do that just so we can get it on the record. H1, Theodore Goodnow, Chad Giannone requests a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment from planned industrial to residential 2, 20 Papa Zulu 00024, tax account 2105262, part of District 1. H2, Theodore Goodnow, Chad Giannone requests a change of zoning classification from AU to RU19, 19 Papa Zulu 00158, tax account 2105262, District 1. H3, Richard R. Jr. and Gina M. Rubel Trust request a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to change the future land use designation from NC to CC, 20 Papa Zulu 00051, tax account 2000354, District 1. H4, Richard R. Jr. and Gina M. Rubel Trust request a change of zoning classification from AU to BU1, 20 Zulu 00003, tax account 2000354, District 1. H5, McD Family Trust LLC requests an amendment to an existing BDP in a BU2 zoning classification, 20 Zulu 00004, tax account 2323791, District 1. H6, Canaveral Landing LLC requests a change of zoning classification from TR1 to TRC1 with a CUP for the cluster development of mobile homes and a BDP limiting residential development to 100 units, 20 Zulu 00006, tax account 2314846, District 1. H7, 3101, Gannett Plaza LLC, Kevin Saltman requests a CUP for alcoholic beverages, beer and wine only for on-premises consumption in conjunction with an indoor family entertainment center in the BU1 and BU2 zoning classifications. 20 Zulu 00007, tax accounts 2602422 and 2602423, District 4. H8, Darren T. Dempsey Revocable Trust requests a change of zoning classification from RR1 to AU, 20 Zulu 00005, tax account 2316704, District 2. H9, Marker 24 Marina LLC, Peter Black requests a CUP for commercial, recreational, and commercial industrial marina in the RU 111 and BU2 zoning classifications. The property is 7.08 acres located on both sides of South Banana River Drive, approximately 160 feet north of West Virginia Avenue. 20 Zulu 00009, tax account 3018251, District 2. All right, thank you, sir. So what we'll do, we'll go through disclosures just for all of the items. From everyone first. I'll go ahead, I guess, and start it up, then I'll turn it over. Actually, Commissioner Isnardi, if you want to. Since you have the light on, let's have you start up with disclosures.
I mean, I think you basically have the same email list that I did because we're all copied on it. So
Okay,
I'll let you list the emails, but I also want to disclose that on August 4th at around 1 p.m. I spoke with Ms. Rosenka on items H1, H2, and H6. And items H1 and H2, I believe, was wanted to know if I had questions. And item H6, I think we're going to be talking about quite extensively.
Okay.
So
right,
just information mainly.
I appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, okay, I'll go through this, then we'll move on to public comment and then roll into some of the public hearings here. So as to items H1 and or H2, the Chad Giannone, Theodore Goodnow proposal, they're all emails that I received, all of them on 8/6. David Monty Montgomery, Palm Bay resident, in opposition. Kay St. Ange from Titusville in opposition. Matt Hayden in opposition. Lou Kontnick in opposition. Lou Kontnick from Melbourne, I apologize. Michael Mullavey? I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that, from Merritt Island in opposition. Spence Guerin from Melbourne in opposition. Laura Losi in opposition. Mary Hilberg from Merritt Island in opposition. Doug and Mary Sfar in opposition from Cocoa. David Botto in opposition. Bo Platt from Melbourne in opposition. William Klein in opposition. And Joni Reagan in opposition. H6, I have some disclosures as well. These are all emails. On 7/5, I received one from Danielle Hunter in opposition. On 7/6, I received one from Joanne Clark from Cocoa in opposition. On 7/9, one from Michael DiRondio from Canaveral Groves in opposition. On 7/19, I received one from Angelos Kokosoulis and Elizabeth Kennelly of Cocoa in opposition. On 7/27, one from Dan Hunter from Canaveral Groves in opposition. On 8/3, one from Karen East and Matt Glander from Cocoa in opposition. 8/5, David Botto in opposition. And 8/6 from Ms. Rosenka on behalf of the applicant. And I'll go ahead and keep this list for the clerk so they don't have to try to spell all these names, because I would not want to do that. And then last but not least, on item H9, the Marker 24 project, on 8/5, so yesterday, I spoke with the applicant about that. So we'll go ahead with whatever else you have. Anything beyond that, Commissioner Isnardi?
Nope.
All right, so what we'll do, bear with me, I'm just trying to keep these in order so I don't miss anyone.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir, please.
I've got a couple of disclosures.
Please, Commissioner
Thank
Tobias.
you. H1 and or 2, starting on August 5th, RT Bo Platt against rezoning due to the impact on Lagoon. Mary Spar request denial due to claimed impact on the lagoon. David Montgomery request denial pending stormwater concept plan. Lou Kontnick opposed pending stormwater concept plan. David Botto and Marine Resource County contending that an increased density will have a detrimental impact on the lagoon and request denial. Today, the 6th, Mary Hildenberg opposed due to impact on stormwater and lagoon. And William Klein opposed due to pollution in the lagoon through stormwater. Also H6, August 1st. Just neglected, I apologize. Karen Easton, Matt Glassner opposed claim drop in property values, increased traffic and notice crime and lower quality of life. Joanne Clark concerned with sidewalks and traffic. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Okay, so you've already turned yours in. Commissioner Smith, anything fun?
Mine's been turned in.
Already in? Okay. All right, so I'm glad we're through that. We've got just one item under general public comments for G as in golf, and then all the other comment cards pertain to particular items. So for section G as in golf, we have Charles Tovey from Melbourne on the topic of trash.
Yes.
Good to see you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner. Head Chair. Charles Tovey, 2555 Roberts Road, Melbourne. Talking trash. Well, nobody else is going to address the situation, so I've been elected. I apologize if anybody has any bad feelings towards me or anything else. And I don't know these people, and I don't know why, but my life does value, and the things that I bring up is of importance to our country and our county, and better now than later, and no one else is going to do it. So I want to say that Sid Liddell was the only person that could speak for me that maybe you might accept, and he's passed, and through him, I worked with him for the Juvenile Assistance Service Program, speaking for years for people that got in trouble and needed help changing their lives. So if anybody knew Sid Liddell, I did, and I didn't bother him with all my personal issues, and it was an honor for me to speak at JASP. It's partly, I do other circuits as well. About talking trash, I can affect the recycling by 50%. How's that? Use it twice. And that's my slogan, use it twice. And the things that are being recycled, they can be reused or redirected for another use. And that's what I have things, and not enough time to go into it right now, but I'll be back, God willing. And the other thing about the trash is that the people are throwing it down because there's no containers for them to throw it into. And it would be easier, I would think, to go ahead and provide cans and see how that works out first before we go ahead and enlisting all these others, as well as it's included in their contracts as well. I understand that, and they should do their jobs as enclosed in a contract. But aside from all that, we need all the help we can get, and better today than tomorrow. And no one else cares about things. And no, that was the other thing I was going to mention while I still got it, about my property. He come and cleared my property without no notice and took all my ways and means of making a living. I hauled it up to his storage place. I paid $3,000 to get it back and got nothing. And yet here today, people still expect me to do this or that, or all the fines and fees and liens and everything. And how? They've entrapped me, and you've let them. And no one can do nothing. Nobody's going to do nothing. So, oh yeah, I can't do nothing either. Otherwise, I get threatened with arrest, Baker Act, or shot or tased. I have a list of things that I'll go into later. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir. All right, that's all we have for public comment under item G. What we'll do is we'll go ahead. I'm just looking here to see where we didn't receive many cards so I can get those folks in and out. Looks like it's companion item 3 and 4 on the Rubel item, which is in D1. We only have the applicant's card. Does anyone want to make a motion with respect to that?
Make a motion to approve that.
All right, I'll go ahead, and that's 3 and 4, correct? Okay, I'll go ahead and second Commissioner Pritchett's motion to approve items H3 and H4. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, H3 and H4 pass unanimously. All right, let's take a look here. H5, we have one card, Rodney Honeycutt. Is that on behalf of the applicant, do we know? Okay, I see Ms. Bentley saying yes. All right, seeing as how that's on behalf of the applicant.
Make a motion to approve it, sir.
All right, a motion from Commissioner Pritchett. I'll go ahead and second the motion to approve H's in Hotel 5. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. All right, let's take a look at H7 here. There are two cards, One's the applicant, Mr. Saltzman, and then Tom Phillips. Is he also on behalf of the applicant? Do we know? Okay, are you good? I don't want to preclude you from speaking if you don't want to waive. Okay, you're good? Okay. All right, seeing as how we don't have any further comment on that, that's in D4, the Gannett Plaza item. Commissioner Smith, would you like to make a motion?
So move.
All right, motion from Commissioner Smith to approve item H7. All in favor, second from Commissioner Isnardi. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, H7 passes. Let's take a look at H8 here. This is a D2 item. I do understand, okay, we have one card from the applicant. I understand if we could have the applicant come up, that staff spoke with the applicant and relayed my request that they consider adding to a BDP, waiving any and all claims to agritourism, and also stating that they're only going to be using it as a plant nursery insofar as business is concerned. Is that right? Do we have the applicant here? Okay, and that's accurate? Yes. Okay, all right, so we've heard a yes for that. So with that said, may I have a motion to approve item H8 with that one caveat? All right, a motion from Commissioner Pritchett. I'll go ahead and second it. All in favor of approving item H8, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, let me just make sure I'm not missing anything here. H9, we've got two cards. We have John Dismore from Cocoa Beach and Peter Black, the applicant. I don't know if Mr. Dismore is speaking in favor or against. In favor, okay. All right, with respect to that, I do understand, if we could have Mr. Black just come up for a moment. I promise we'll go easy on you, sir. When we spoke yesterday, it's my understanding, and I just want to make sure we get on the record the couple of BDP items that you were good with. The first one, with respect to this portion of the property, the east side, the existing septic, if you increase the number of fixtures that are connected to it, so toilet sinks, anything that causes water or refuse to go into the system, then you would agree in the BDP to upgrade the existing septic to advanced?
Yes, sir.
And then the other item was with respect to the detailing and washing, you would include in the BDP language saying that that would be conducted indoors.
Yes, sir.
And then I believe staff, Tad, I don't know if you could just briefly summarize the other item that you had concluded with them earlier this afternoon?
Yes, sir.
Please.
Can you guys hear me okay? I can't.
Yes.
Okay, it says it's on.
Thank you.
Mr. Black and I spoke this afternoon about clarifying the meaning behind special condition number 19, which we just passed out. So essentially what we're looking at here is just clarifying the responsibilities and ensuring for Mr. Black that we enter into agreements for whatever maintenance will be necessary, and that we would agree upon an acceptable time frame for achieving those maintenance, and that before the county would take any action. Otherwise, it would be non-favorable for the marina with the bridge.
Okay, and then you've had a chance, sir, to take a look at that particular document that he sent out?
Yes, sir.
And you're in favor of that as well?
Yes, sir.
And then staff, you don't have any further concerns with those three items being noted?
No, sir.
Okay, so with those three items being noted, may I have a motion to pass H as in Hotel 9?
So move.
All right, I have a motion motion from Commissioner Smith. I'll go ahead and second that. All in favor of approving the item, please say.
Mr. Chair?
Please.
Just for one point of clarification.
Yes, sir.
The motion does include all of the previous conditions, 1 through 21, plus the 3 that we added today?
Yes,
Or
so
just-
it includes everything that was contemplated, plus the
Okay.
items that
Thank
were
you.
put on the record. So anything in the agenda report are attached to it, and
Thank
those
you, sir.
items. Fair, Commissioner Smith? All right, that's what my second contemplates as well. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. All right, so now we can get to some of the more controversial ones here. We have got a whole slew of cards. We'll address items H1 and 2 first, then we'll move on to 6, and then we'll go from there. So I'll give you all just a heads up in terms of the order I'm going to call folks in on, and then I'll give a moment as well if staff thinks we need for folks to kind of filter in and out for the item. You think we're okay, or should we give it a minute? Mr. Abate, what do you think? Do you think we're going to have more folks come in, or?
I'll check with staff back there, but I think so.
Okay. Thank you. L1. All right, perfect. Okay, so it looks like people are well settled at this point. So I'll give you all the pecking order in terms of how we're going to call this. If anyone submitted on either H1 or H2, I'm just going to call them all up since they're companion items. I'm going to set the timer for 3 minutes. Given that they're 2 items, if you need an extension, just ask me, and unless there's an objection from one of the other commissioners, I'll extend the time a little bit, just to make sure everyone has an opportunity. But we'll start out with the applicant, represented by Ms. Ryzenka. Then we'll have Julie Monahan from Cocoa. We'll have Vince Lamb from Merritt Island, Terry LaPlante from Melbourne, and Monty Montgomery from Palm Bay. Commissioner Isnardi?
Yeah, I don't think we can limit the comments to 3 minutes on the zoning items. Is that correct?
Your BCC policy provides the applicant 15 minutes, and then the other folks get 5 minutes under your rules. You could, by vote of the board, reduce it to 3 minutes for the objecting parties if you wish to do that, but your procedure is 5 minutes.
How would you all like to handle it? I'm fine either way.
No, I just want to make sure. I saw Eden get
No, okay. She
sit
was
up in
wiggling
her
over
seat.
there. Okay. Yeah, if someone wants to make a motion, I'll second it. If they don't, that's fine too.
I'll make a motion that we have 3 minutes.
All right, a motion from Commissioner Smith
Second.
all right, perfect. A second from Commissioner Isnardi. Everyone understands what we're voting on? Perfect. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, passes unanimously. Okay, so we'll give the applicant the full amount of time. Anyone that's responding, whether or not it's in favor or against, they're going to be restricted to 3. That said, if you need to wrap up your thoughts, I'm not going to cut you off dead at 3 by any means. Okay, so we'll go from there. So we'll start up with Ms. Ryzenka.
Staff going to introduce or no?
I think we have the legally minimum introduction on the record. If you want to hear more from him, I'll certainly let them.
Well, he indicated to me he was going to, so that's why.
Did you want to, Jeff?
Yeah, for everyone's clarification, in the memorandum on item D, the word "one lot" should have been included in there. So on the eastern portion of that property, it should read 1 half-acre lot.
All right, thank you, sir. Welcome.
Is there some reason I can't use this other microphone?
If you pull it up and it works, you're welcome to use it. Let's try it out. Maybe not.
Maybe not. Is it working?
No, I think it's the other one picking up, actually.
Oh, this one. There we go.
Perfect.
Okay.
Feel free.
Thank you. I knew
Thanks.
this worked. We had this last time.
Tall people problems, right?
Heels.
And first world problems.
I get it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Seems like this podium gets smaller and smaller. Good evening, Commissioner, Chairman Lober, members of the County Commission. My name is Kim Ryzenka. I'm here on behalf of Chad Giannone, who is the applicant on behalf of, for the owner, Mr. Goodenow. I am with the law firm of Cantwell and Goldman, and I am in Cocoa Village. This is a 2-part application. There is a lot of information in this package. I've already given 3 presentations on this. It's all in the minutes, so I don't want to do too much, but I do want to go over the basics and to address some of the issues that have been raised during these different meetings. The comprehensive plan is only for the property on the east side of Hammock. Both that property and the property on the west side are all old Orange Grove properties, and they're with pepper trees. The property at issue for the comp plan is 4.85. Currently, it does not have any treatment for any stormwater runoff, and everything likely goes into the river untreated. Same with the property to the west side. As you all know, you've discussed stormwater at length over the years, and stormwater is not really an appropriate issue for a comprehensive plan amendment or even a rezoning unless there's conditions in a binding development plan or a conditional use permit. The stormwater is a site plan concern. I have in your packet cited to section 62-3202 H6 And this is more for the public. You all know this code very well. It's the first page. The drainage of the property shall not alter the established drainage so as to adversely affect the adjoining property. The plan shall depict the stormwater treatment methods required by state and local government. As you know, all property has to maintain the historical water post-development and pre-development. There's also been concern about wetlands. Again, this is more of a site plan issue, but it's been raised in the comprehensive plan amendment, so this really applies to both. I've cited page 2, 62-3694. This is your wetlands code. It only allows impacts to wetlands of 1.8%. That's 0.018%. It's a very small amount. And your comprehensive plan has the same language in the conservation element. So even if Mr. Giannoni wanted to impact wetlands, he can't. And that is, your Natural Resources Department is very clear on that. Then east of this property, this is the east side. To the north of it is comprehensive plan, as future land use planned industrial, and it's also zoned PIP, both industrial uses. Yet you have houses there. Those houses have been there a very long time, since earlier than the 80s when the zoning was established. The only thing that separates this property from Res 2 and the property north from Res 2 is Hammock Road. Now, if we wanted to annex into the city, which we tried to do, but they said it was an enclave, but it really isn't. If we wanted to, we would be allowed to annex in because of the road. So to me, it is adjacent. This property on the east side of Hammock Road is adjacent to Res 2. Also, this is a transition, unlike what your staff report says, because you've got residential uses. Residential uses is allowed in PIP at 1 unit to the acre, although the property to the north isn't necessarily 1 unit to the acre. So this is a transition. So you're going to have homes here, only one home here, next to industrial, which is vacant and pretty much wetlands and probably won't be developed. We believe also the general standard for compatibility works here as well. And I've cited in your packet at page 3, there's a case, Catherine Bay versus Fagan, and it cites the Florida Administrative Code rule, which is also the exact same language in Florida Statute 163.31649. Compatibility means a condition in which land uses or conditions can coexist in relative proximity to each other in stable fashion over time. And again, this is going to be residential land next to residential land next to vacant land. So although it's zoned industrial, it's really not industrial. And PIP zoning does allow single-family homes at 1 acre with conditions. As to the rezoning with the binding development plan, we believe the rezoning is compatible as well under that standard because it's still single-family to single-family use. The zonings around this property are all over the place. They're all residential, but to the south, directly to the south, they're TR1, which is 7,500 square feet. You also have the PUD that was zoned in Titusville, which I have on page 4. It's also page 143 of your packet. And it shows that it is adjacent to this land. And those are 6,000 square feet homes and 143 of them. So there is some trending, which is showing that this is also compatible. This is going to be developed as one project over Hammock Road. I've had some dispute with staff as to whether that can be possible, but the staff does say that will be addressed at a later time. And we have found several different instances where this has been done throughout the county. Again, I believe the land use here is compatible. There are manufactured homes in this area, but these will be regular homes. There are no school or concurrency issues for this rezoning. The BDP requires that Mr. Giannoni bring in city sewer and water. There will be no septic tanks, which will help the Indian River Lagoon, as you all know. There will be better stormwater retention because it will have to be planned and approved by the county and St. John's and any other agency that wants to get involved. And it will retain the water better than the Orange Grove that has no stormwater retention or treatment. Again, the use is the same, residential to residential. This use is reasonable. This land has been around for a while without being developed. I do have in here 62-1542, the PIP code, which does show permitted use with conditions can be single-family residence. Starting at page 6 is a brand-new binding development plan because there was a confusion in the other one, as we recognized in Mr. Calkins' memo. In second page, D2, the land on the east side of Hammock Road shall be limited to 1 half-acre or larger lot. So there will only be one home on the east side. This was in negotiations between Mr. Giannoni and the residents. In fact, he's had several meetings with the residents, and I think you'll see here there's no one opposing from the neighborhood. These are all people concerned about the Indian River Lagoon and wetlands and trees. The other issue is F, just to be clear, there's going to be a 25-foot buffer on the west property line of the west parcel and a 25-foot buffer on the north property line of the east parcel. And this was brought up at Planning and Zoning. We had to go back to Planning and Zoning on this matter, and Planning and Zoning approved that condition. In order to make it clearer, because there was some confusion, there's an Exhibit B on page 11, which is new to this binding development plan as well, and it shows what Mr. Giannoni intends to do for that 25-foot buffer. And he's got listed in here, buffer shrub to be planted as needed, 4 foot on center, the length of the buffer type to be either 3-gallon Walters Vernum or 3-gallon Florida Privet. And this is what he came up with working with a landscaper. So there was clarity on what that landscape buffer would be. And with that, if you have any questions, Mr. Giannoni is here as well. And I ask that you approve the comprehensive plan amendment, the rezoning, and the binding development plan.
I'll go ahead and reserve the roughly 6.5 minutes that you have as well.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll have Julie Monahan first.
Do you have a couple extra of those that you gave the commissioner? Yes. Two. This is mine. Give me a minute, please. Thank you. I'm not a great speaker, so.
That's all right.
Pardon me. Does this,
Don, can you help? Thanks. Yeah, Don's going to come down and help you out.
okay, my name's Julie Manahan. I own 1864 Hammock Road. My husband and I have owned this for approximately 30 years. His handicapped sister is residing there. Perfect, thank you. We live right there where the little X is, okay? And I believe this and this is phase 1 and phase 2. We just recently replaced the mobile home. Many years ago, there used to be a ditch there, which was great for drainage. And then about 5 years ago, the county came in, they filled in the ditch, and they put a drainage round thing, right? Okay, and the land is like here, and the drainage pipe thing is 3 inches higher than our land, which makes it real interesting. So we have to get 6 inches of water before it actually drains in, which is a concern. Also, the water, the industrial park here brought water in a couple of years ago, and it comes right up to the driveway here beside our property to Betty Loudmouth's property behind us, okay? When we replaced our mobile home because of the hurricane, we were told that it would be $50,000 to take it from this corner of our property to this corner of our property. So we're kind of stuck still with a well, and of course, I'm not sure we would have the money to run it from the road in. So I'm wondering if the new development is going to take the city water down Hammock or not. Or if they're just going to do it from this end here and this end here for their developing areas and not actually down Hammock. Also, is this rezoning, I mean, right now, any little bit of rain and it gets very wet there. And we have the orange groves, which nature filters and nature takes up the water. But if we have houses in there, then there's not going to be any place for the water to go. And there's going to be more, not pollution, but, you know, people stuff. And, but I'm worried about the impact very, very much. And I'm wondering if they're going to bring the water across Hammock, which would be an advantage to us. But I'm just, and I was at one of the meetings that they had at the hotel, and there were people there that did not want it. Everybody wasn't in agreement that this would be wonderful for our area.
And I'm going to give you a few seconds to
That's
wrap
okay.
it up.
I'm good.
All right, I appreciate it.
So
Thank
I still needing and wanting a lot of information because not planning to get rid of this property ever. And it's just, this is going to change a lot.
Thank you. Commissioner Tobias?
Thank you.
Matt, ma'am,
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was trying to follow. So you're in opposition to this because of the environmental issues. However, if they run water by your property and save you $50,000, then you don't care about the environmental issues,
No.
but you're okay with the
No.
getting the water?
I am still in opposition to what it's going to do to our environment, yes.
But you're happy that you got the water?
I would be if it was coming across.
So would you be in favor of it? I don't know what the answer is. I'm just trying to find how important the environment is to you.
I'm still more that the environment is more important than the convenience of me having city water. Yeah, so I'm still kind of in opposition to the development of that property.
But you hope you get water?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
Commissioner Pritchett?
Ms. Monahan, thank you, and hopefully we'll make sure you're protected, and I'm hoping you get water too, so we'll see how that works out.
Thank you.
All right, next up we'll have Vince Lamb, then Terry LaPlante, and then finally Monty Montgomery, and we'll go back to the applicant. Welcome, sir.
The three of us are coordinated, and we want Monty to go first, if that's okay.
However you all want, that's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Monty Montgomery from Palm Bay. Yeah, if you'd like to, please.
There's 5. Pushes that out. Okay. But are we going to go up here? Okay, thank you. Okay, that's good.
Okay, we've got him there. Perfect. Thank you. All right, you've got the floor, sir.
Okay, I'm Monty Montgomery. I'm a retired engineer, live in Palm Bay. And I've been following the area's development up here, the Brooks Landing over on the east, and then this came up, we only about 4 weeks ago. I have a number of slides. I'm just going to click through them, and that way, if there's any questions, we can go back over the 3 minutes, but I don't plan to take more time than that. Ms. Rozenka has already explained that there's 2 applications here, a 19 PZ 158 and a 20 PZ 24. And so I'll just go to the next slide. If nothing happened today, if there was no approval of these zoning change requests, then you could build 10 homes on the 26 acres, which seems quite reasonable. And the property across the street, the eastern 5 acres, I thought it was 1 home. If it's 5 homes, I'm surprised, but that'd be fine too if you could do that. But let me go on to the next page. If you look at what the area is, even though you might say this is similar to Brooks Landing, which is going in a few feet to the west, the elevations are quite different for this property that we're talking about tonight from the Brooks Landing property. Brooks Landing is probably at an elevation average of 12 or 13 feet above sea level. These properties, the 26 acres, runs between 4 feet and about 7 feet on the west. And the eastern property basically sits from 3 to 4 feet above sea level. It's right there at the water line next to the marshes. The marshes are held at about 2 feet. So if you can see there, it forms a big bowl. The Florida East Coast Railway is like a swale or a ridge on the right side of the picture there, which will entrap water. Water can only go through the Indian River Lagoon either by seeping through to the groundwater or by going through right below where the railway causeway is or right above where the railway causeway is. There are no other stormwater exits to the lagoon at this point. So the issue I have is that these properties are just extremely low, and I worry about what pad heights will be for the homes, how prone they are to flooding once we get the infrastructure in with the roads and the pads and the driveways and all that. And I'll just talk to that. Oh, and the reason US 1 is where it is because there's a coastline from prehistoric times that the road is built on. That's up about 22 feet. But once again, the 26 acres is still at 4 to 7 feet. It's very incredibly low land. Here's some pictures of that. The 26 acres, you can see how Hammock Road, which is at 6 or 7 feet, has a depression over there to the left for the 26 acres at the 4 to 6 feet. And on the right side, the 5 acres is only about 3 to 4 feet. The marshland that's immediately to the east of that is at 2.5 to 3 feet, so it locks in with that. I'm going to run out of time here. The stormwater all flows to this one spot there at JJ Road, and we just took this picture Tuesday. That's all there is for stormwater drainage for the entire area. So when Brooks Landing comes in, it's all going to go to this same spot.
I'll give you a few seconds to summarize.
Okay. All right. This is similar to Pine Island. Oh, and this is my last slide. The basic line here is that the developer could build 10 homes here, and then they decided that they don't want Res 2. At 52 homes, they're trying to go for 62 homes in here without a layout. I worry about the elevation of the pads. How would you do retention ponds? How would you do swales? I know that's all a zoning thing, but right now the council has the ability to say, why do you need more than 10 homes on this 26 acres? So I propose that this not be approved. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
All right, next up,
Don, how do we get out of here?
We can have you, or would you rather have Terry go first? Okay.
Okay.
Welcome, sir.
I'll take this down so I can speak a little better, if you don't mind. I'm far enough away, I hope.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, Vince Lamb, South Merritt Island. I was invited to come look at this property a few weeks ago, and also to meet some of the neighbors that surround the property. Randall Scragg, a nearby resident on JJ Road for 38 years, would like to be here tonight, except for his concerns about COVID-19 and asthma conditions. So he's not here because of that. But he reported frequent flooding just from afternoon thunder showers, certainly with tropical storms. He has to wear rubber boots to get to his vehicle whenever it rains very hard, and he frequently encounters the flooded roads. I believe he sent an email to Commissioner Pritchett expressing these concerns. He asked me to express to you that the stormwater system in this area needs attention regardless of the development of this development and Brooks Landing. Needs it now. He's concerned about more flooding, especially with increased development. Monty and I spoke with several other residents who expressed similar concerns. We looked at the stormwater ditches in the area, and they appear to us to be very inadequate. I received a photo of the ditch on Hammock Road yesterday after a storm. It was almost full. I think Monty showed that. We strongly recommend that this rezoning and development plan approval should be withheld until the developer can show that an effective stormwater plan can be produced and that flooding will not be a problem. I know that in the normal course of business in Brevard County, zoning changes are given without concern for stormwater and flooding, and that comes later. But I think this particular property is so low and such a severe problem that I think an exception should be made, and I think you guys have the power to request that stormwater information be presented before you issue a zoning change. We have, you know, a key thing here is that most of the stormwater evaluation stuff occurs in the dark. The public doesn't get invited to the meetings to see how the stormwater is going to change in their neighborhood. The intentions are all good, but somehow or another we have a lot of failures. We have, Monty mentioned North Merritt Island. That's one where the flooding was so severe the county's paying for a comprehensive stormwater analysis, and you guys, to your credit, have refused to allow any density increase until that stormwater analysis is completed. I think that might be needed here. Regarding the proposed development, if the developer just built the currently allowed 12 or so homes on half-acre lots and used the remainder of the property for water retention, the result might be an attractive, sustainable development. Please don't approve this zoning change without addressing the flooding issues to protect the neighbors.
Thank you, sir. All right, last but not least, I apologize. Commissioner Tobias, please, sir.
Thank you. And this is for Ms. Bentley.
Please.
Ms. Bentley, the previous speaker indicated that stuff was done, quote, in the dark. I guess that's an insinuation outside of sunshine or public record. Are any of these calculations done outside of public record?
They're submitted to the staff, and everything the staff receives on a project is public.
So there's nothing done in the dark?
No.
Thank you.
You've got the floor, ma'am.
I would request the time extension due to there being 2 agenda items.
Sure.
Okay, thanks. So good evening. I am Terry LaPlante. I live in Melbourne, Florida. Thank you for the opportunity to bring a few issues to your attention related to the zoning changes being considered for Theodore Goodnow. One concern that needs to be addressed is the fact, as acknowledged by Kim, that these properties have been orange groves, and this has been a long-standing problem throughout Florida, that orange groves are very highly contaminated with arsenic and other chemicals from pesticides and fertilizers that were used on the orange groves, requiring cleanup of this contamination, and also requiring putting a certain amount of responsibility that this contamination be disclosed to any potential buyers. And so I would recommend that the county take a look at what needs to be done to clean up that site and to include in the BDP, at minimum to include in the BDP, that this be disclosed to any future buyers. There is a case going on in Miami-Dade that is being litigated against the developers for, the BDP with Miami-Dade said they would disclose it. They didn't disclose it, and now, it's all in litigation. So this is a concern. 2, these parcels of land are so close, in my opinion, to the liquefied natural gas railway, putting homeowners in harm's way. Just weeks ago, the federal laws approved shipping this highly flammable gas by making it legal to ship by rail, thus putting communities near the rail lines at risk. A couple years ago, our federal laws changed, allowing for the export of LNG from our country, outside of our country. And at the same time, they permitted the LNG facility being built in Titusville near the Space Coast Regional Airport to export 600,000 metric tons of LNG. Much of that will most likely be moved by rail, so there will be, as they build out this infrastructure for the LNG to come from Titusville Airport, that railroad line runs along the lagoon, then it goes east to Parish Road, out to the Canaveral Air Force Station and the Space Center. So I would urge you to maintain the current zoning of PI on the east parcel, because it seems like there is a planned industrial use for that area. I would also urge you, if you decide to approve this development, that the BDP needs to include buffer zones to manage the noise, to protect these homes from the noise from this increased train traffic that's going to be coming through there. So there would need to be buffer zones on the east of the east parcel, and there would need to be a buffer zone on the east portion of the west parcel to manage noise pollution. I would urge the commission to check what the laws are, what the requirements are for how close you can put homes to a rail line, because it seems that this is very, very close. And, you know, I think the commission has a responsibility to protect the public. 3, it appears that neither parcel should be approved for zoning changes as requested due to the lack of stormwater infrastructure and protections that are in place to protect the lagoon. With that said, if you do approve this project, I believe it's essential for our county to offer incentives to the developer to provide our community with a low-impact development to protect our waterways. I have been looking for a low-impact community in Brevard for 10 years. I moved out of the Viera and this beautiful, you know, housing development when I discovered the damage that was being done to the lagoon. I have lived in Brevard County my whole life. I have nothing but wonderful memories of the lagoon and what it did for our family in our community when it was safe to play in and eat the fish from. I am only one of many who would love to buy a new home in a green, lagoon-friendly neighborhood. All over the state, people are demanding that our waterways be protected and restored. We want green, lagoon-friendly neighborhoods. We need the commission, the county, to offer these developers incentives like waiving permitting fees, expediting the permitting process. What happens when they try to develop this type of community is they run into a system, an agency that only knows how to permit one type of community. So if you don't put in a retention pond, it throws them, for a big loop because, wow, we require retention ponds. So there needs to be, it takes a lot longer to get an LID community permitted, so they need help with expediting that. We, the community of taxpayers, want the lagoon protected and restored. This sort of things that we would ask this developer to do would be to include permeable materials for driveway, roads, and sideways.
Ms. LaPlante, I'm going to ask you to sum up if you would, please.
I am. This would eliminate turf grass. This neighborhood might have a community garden and would definitely have Florida native landscaping. Retention ponds would be replaced with bioswales or rain gardens. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that appears to be it insofar as public comment is concerned for H1 and H2. Ms. Ryzenka?
Thank you, Chairman Lober. Again, Kim Ryzenka here on behalf of Chad Genoni, the applicant. As to Ms. Monahan, we're not positive where the water's coming, but we're pretty sure she's going to have access to it one way or another. And if she wants to contact me and get me her contact information, I can get her to make sure that she would have that information. Where she has pointed out her property is it's right next to the PUD that's already been zoned in Titusville and a few lots below where this land will be. Not clear on what the concern is regarding the environment. Again, the water cannot impact any more than it already does and generally is cleaned up by stormwater plans and retention. Regarding Mr. Monahan, he's from Palm Bay. He's a retired engineer. He has provided no qualifications regarding his expertise and what he was providing to you and what he submitted in the record. DPBPR records have his license number as 41109 and says its status is null and void. So I do not know exactly what his qualifications are as an engineer, and he did not provide you any. What he has stated to you regarding the floodplain and what he thinks is reasonable are site plan issues. Again, the site must retain the historical water. To Mr. Lamb, this development cannot make it flooding worse. You all know that. And staff will make sure that doesn't happen, and a lot of times it gets better when they put in proper retention. Withhold for stormwater plan, that's never, ever, ever been done at this stage in the 19 years I've been here, except in North Merritt Island. That did happen when the stormwater plan came out. This always comes later. As to permitting in the dark, everyone should know that all permitting is now online and can be accessed through the online systems by address. To Miss LaPlante from Melbourne, again, I do not know what her qualifications are regarding fertilizer. She talks a lot about what she thinks the developer should do and what they want is a Green Lagoon friendly development. I don't know what that is. It's not in your code. She has talked about speculative issues, liquid nitrogen and buffers for noise. Again, there are already homes north of this eastern parcel. And if this property needs a buffer, does Ms. Monahan have to put up a buffer? These are unreasonable requests. These people want to design this for the developer, and the developer doesn't even know what it can define yet. Engineering has not been done. Engineering is very expensive. Stormwater plans are very expensive. Until he knows the zoning is approved, the engineering is not done. And again, this land has sat vacant for a while. It's an underused parcel. We would ask that you approve the conditional use, not the conditional use, sorry, the comprehensive plan amendment and the rezoning with the binding development plan, as the Planning and Zoning Board did.
Thank you, Ms. Ruzenka.
And again, Mr. Giannoni is here if you have any questions. But he has told me he thinks the water is going to be accessible to Mrs. Monahan, and we will get with her on that if she gives us her information.
Mr. Pritchett?
Thank you, sir. Ms. Monahan, that's wonderful, because I know out there the water quality is kind of tough, and that's a really good thing if we start providing water to the other citizens out there. I've been aware of this for a while, and this is really a sister project to the one that was already done. So, you know, I started looking at that, and actually they're pretty nice houses, and we need housing. I also looked at what could be on the property right now, and Commissioner Lober, you kind of dealt with this in an earlier one. You know, it could be agritourism, then we've got a whole mess out there. And you can also have more orange groves go out there. All kinds of things could have popped on this property. And so I looked at density, and it matches up with the project you just did, and it's a nice project. And then I also looked at what you guys made an agreement to with the citizens around there. I'm very glad you're just doing one house on the east side because it's a little more wet. I think it makes it a little bit nicer for the stormwater situation, and that you went ahead and put in the BDP that you're not going to do more than 62 houses. I think that was a real advantage too. So the only other thing would be stormwater, and I think we already have stormwater situations out there. We've already discussed that, and right now, it's just, you know, if I could make you fix everybody else's out there, I would love to do that right now, but you do have to maintain your own stormwater, and we've been with staff long enough that I've watched them be very strong with people, making sure they do all the right things as far as their own stormwater. I do have one request, and I don't think it's going to affect too much, but down Hammock Road there, I think if we were able to put swells in, and so if you guys would be willing to give some right-of-way to the county on that, if you would look at that and consider that in the BDP, I think that will help you later when you start doing the stormwater. I don't think it's going to mess with your plan too much, but I would like to ask if you guys would consider maybe putting that in the BDP, and then I think that you know, there's some obstacles to get through, but you got to go through all those things as you're moving forward with your project. But I think that would be a nice thing if you would consider doing that.
On Hammock?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ms. Ruzenka?
And Mr. Giannoni is shaking his... Sure, please.
Come on up, sir. Okay, this is Chad Giannoni. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, Commissioners. On your comment, I mean, we'd be happy to do that and try to incorporate it in our plan. Do you think we need to put it in the BDP? Could we just say that we will try to incorporate it if we can into the plan? I'm just not sure how the language would fit into the BDP.
Okay, let me ask Mr. I call you Mr. Tad, because we just looked at it, and you're going to have that flow somewhere. So, Mr. Cockings, how do we do this? Because you know what we're trying to.
Yeah, so on Hammock Road, there for a portion, there's a substandard right-of-way. So I think what we would be looking is for the full 50 feet of right-of-way. So we could look at it, you know, from the existing right-of-way line west So I don't know what that means, but it could also be, there could be a right-of-way or drainage easements to whatever facilitates that requirement. So I don't know how that works for you, Mr. Giannone, or not.
Yeah, without seeing the plan, that's the thing, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure we can dedicate the, you're thinking it's an additional
Well, we
20
typically,
feet than what it would normally be?
maybe so. I don't
we can
have the
accommodate that.
exact number because I don't know that we saw that on the plans, but if we get that 50 feet of right-of-way and drainage easements, I think it would be beneficial.
I think it would be an
So then-
advantage for you too.
Okay.
Could that be on the eastern parcel, or does it
It
have
could
to be
be,
equal?
it could be, so just so we maintain that alignment and we get that width.
And Mr. Senka, I'd be a lot more comfortable seeing that as well.
Yeah, I think that can be done. We can do that because there's going to be extra space on the west,
Yeah, we could do
on the
the
east
drainage
parcel.
for sure on the
East.
east side for sure.
I think it
Probably
would just be,
accommodate quite a bit of drainage.
it would help with the area and facilitate the drainage, giving us adequate space to work with that.
And I'd like to make a motion to approve it, and you're good with
Contingent
it?
with that being in the BDP?
Yes, if they're good, so.
Say again? Commissioner, if it works for you, let's just give them the flexibility, whether it's east or
Yes.
west, just
That
to
way
make
we
it work.
can
I don't
put
want to
the
tie them
swells
to it
in.
being one side or the other. All right, I'll go ahead and second that. Any further discussion?
Is that both items, the comp
This is
planning?
both, correct, H1 and H2. Correct, Commissioner Pritchett?
Yes.
All right, second applies to both as well. So all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you all. I'll give you guys just a minute to kind of mill in and out, so for the folks that were here for just H1 and H2, so that we're not disrupting anyone here for H6. Then in the meanwhile, just for my colleagues up here, has everyone had a chance to look at that memo that I submitted earlier today? And I apologize, it was on a little bit of a later timeline than ordinarily I try to do. If not, if you all are able to pull up your emails during maybe a break, or I'll take a break after H6. Yeah, we'll take a break after H6 before we go on to board reports. I'll give you guys 5 minutes or 10 minutes at that point, so everyone can stretch and then take a look if you haven't seen it yet. I apologize for getting that out late. Just give them another few seconds here. You got all the fun ones tonight, Commissioner. Yes, H6 will be next. I just want to allow folks to kind of get in and get out so that we don't have any interruption while you're speaking.
Yeah, she did. She did a number on herself. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. And just to give you all the pecking order here, we'll hear from Ms. Rozenka first on behalf of the applicant, and I apologize in advance for some of the names if I butcher them. Nick DeTore, is that close?
He's my client.
Okay, he's your client. Then Rodney Honeycutt. Then we'll hear from Paul Camino from Merritt Island, James Conrad from Cocoa, Dan Hunter from Cocoa, Kyle, and it looks like Krista. I don't have a last name from Vieira. We'll get the last name when they come up. Claude Wheeler from Cocoa, and Angelos Kokosoulis from Cocoa. All right, Ms. Rozenka, your show, ma'am.
Oh, thank you. Okay. This is the new concept plan that if we could show it for,
Mr. Walker, could you give her a hand, sir?
I think I've got it.
Yeah. Oh, do we have it? Okay, Logan, I don't know if we can get one of the two screens up here, sir. Thank you. He's quick.
There's a delay in that, that's funny.
Thanks.
And it's also up here,
Okay.
facing the audience. Okay. Good evening, Chairman Lober, members of the County Commission. My name is Kim Rozenka. I'm with the law firm of Cantwell and Goldman. I'm here on behalf of Canaveral Landing LLC. With me tonight is Nick DeTore, the owner of the property, the owner's representative, John Shepard with Atlantic Engineering, and Roddy Honeycutt with Honeycutt and Associates, the engineer of record. This is a 33.8 acres parcel that we are seeking to rezone to TRC1 with a conditional use permit for cluster mobile homes, manufactured homes. 43% of this property is wetlands. It's a very difficult property to develop, hence it hasn't been developed. Everything around it has been developed. It's been like this for a very long time. There's a large drainage ditch that goes through it that the county says it maintains. We're not sure if it does, but we know that there is access to it for maintenance purposes. This was intended to be what I believe is phase 3 of Royal Palms. To the west of there are 2 subdivisions, Royal Palms 2, which was platted in '87, and Royal Palm Estates, which was 1984 plat. The current zoning of TR1 allows 7,500 square feet lot size, which if you calculate it out is 196 lots, which is obviously reduced by the Res 4, which is currently there. Oh, excuse me. Res 4? Res 2. No, Res 4, correct. And then obviously there could be a density bonus, which would get you up to almost 170 lots. We are seeking 100 home sites. They're not lots, as stated in your staff report. They are home sites. This will all be in a cooperative ownership. The owners will own a portion of it, like a condominium does, and then have their own mobile homes on their pads. And those homes will be in the range of $60,000 to $100,000. They cannot be any older than 3 years old to newer. At P&Z, this was approved with the condition of the second access, which we now have. Access is currently was from Ann Way to the east. It's a very large right-of-way, dead ends right into this property. Obviously, it was intended to be access for this property. Also, the Royal Palms 2 plat, which is immediately to the west, had a Tract D, which was reserved to the developer for future right-of-way. So this was intended to be another mobile home, manufactured home development. The new concept plan, as I said, was submitted on July 7th of 2020. It's page 1 of your packet, which shows the access to the west using Tract D, which Mr. DeTore, Canaveral Landings did purchase. So there's 2 access here now, and that's also shown on the overhead. The changes were the west access road. Lots were adjusted to account for it. We removed the waiver request, better aligned the east access road on Ann Way, and added a handicap golf parking space. The concern raised by the speakers and the letter writers, most of the letter writers, again, from Merritt Island, Palm Bay, with the same issues you just heard. Low-income housing, it's not low-income housing, it's affordable housing. Ian Golden, the housing director, spoke about this at P&Z very eloquently, and we'll talk about it more today. Stormwater and wetlands, again, site plan issues. We discussed that last time. I have it in the packet again, just so you know that these are site plan issues. An increase in traffic. Again, this was always intended to be the access from Ann Way, we believe, and now we have Fountain Boulevard. Although there might be 499 trips, assuming we can even get 100 home sites, the peak trips are only 44 in the morning. Going each way, that's 22 each way in the morning. The peak trips in the evening are 59, which at most is 30 trips each way. That's not a substantial amount of traffic for a peak hour. They've also stated residents have concerned an increase in crime. There's no evidence that will happen. A decrease in property value. Again, no evidence to support that. And there's a concern about compatibility. Again, the use is the same. Every one of the 33 homes around this property is a manufactured home. There may be other regular brick and mortar or wood houses, but every single one around this, 33 of them, are all manufactured homes. There are no lot sizes because this is a cooperative. Only about 10 homes will actually be adjacent to any of these home sites. That is 7 on the west and 3 on the east will abut these home sites. The owner also plans to install a fence to the east, west, and south of where the homes are, not impacting the wetlands. And we can put that as a condition of the CUP if you would like. So there will be a fence around the property. Regarding the packet, and I apologize it's so long, it's just to support the record. Again, you have the new development. Page 2, this talks about manufactured housing. It's very informative. We do have a lot of manufactured homes in this portion of the county. Page 3, 4, 5, and 6 are from Canaveral Landing website. This never says affordable, it never says low income. It says affordable housing, which is completely different. It also talks about the employment nearby, housing market information, and it defines what a co-op is. On page 7, again, is 623202, dealing with site plan and stormwater development, which we discussed at the last hearing. Page 8 is 62-3694, dealing with wetlands. This time it's regarding the meets and bounds, because that's what this is. This again says you cannot have more than 1/8% of the total property impacted. The engineer has opined that it would be 1.5, 1.75 to 2 acres of wetlands that would be impacted, which would be much greater than 1.8%. So there's no way for us to impact all those wetlands going to Canaveral Groves Boulevard. It's not a we don't want a permit and don't spend the cost, it's we can't. I've talked to Darcy McGee, there's absolutely no way for us to come from Canaveral Groves Boulevard based upon your comp plan, which is also in the packet, starting at page 9, again talking about only 1.8%. So even if there was a waiver to the Land Development Code, you have it in your comp plan and it can't be waived. I have for you on page 13 and 14, they're photographs of the conditions of Ann Way. I believe that you all, I did email them all to you. I have other copies if you would like them in color. They're also in black and white in the packet. Ann Way was recently resurfaced. They're not bad conditions. They are narrow roads, but they're not bad roads. Maybe they do flood, as one of the residents said. That was 2017 was the picture. I don't know if that was one of the hurricanes or what it was. But
folks can see that. And I paused your time just as an FYI. All right, thank you. Thanks.
All right, so that was page 13 and 14 of the packet. Page 15 is the Royal Palms 2 plat that was platted in 1987. I've circled the D, which was tract D, which note 3 says this was reserved for a right-of-way, again showing that this was the intended western access to this property. Next is 16, which is the Royal Palms Estates plat, the 1984, kind of showing the progression of what I think this was going to be Royal Palms 3. Page 17 is section 621402 regarding with the TR1 zoning code, again showing the lot size there is 7,500 square feet. Page 18 is a discussion of compatibility. Again, this is manufactured homes next to manufactured homes. It's the same use. This was zoned in 1989, starting on page 19, zoning 8387 to this exact zoning, TRC1 with CUP for cluster homes. Page 20, staff at that time says it's probably compatible. Obviously, the county commission thought it was compatible. This exact same thing we're asking for back in 1989 as they approved it. Interestingly, Bill Cannon, who was the president of the Canaveral Groves Home Association in 1989, said the developers looked for adding another access to accommodate the actual traffic. So he didn't actually want the traffic on Canaveral Groves Boulevard. This was rezoned to the TR1 where it currently is in 2001 for unknown reasons. Interesting looking at the file, only the owners of 15% interest in this property zoned it. So it probably wasn't a valid zoning back in 2001. Nothing we can do about it now, just interesting. Regarding property values, I made a comment at P&Z that the surrounding property owners' value was $18,000 to $108,000. We did an analysis of 33 homes immediately adjacent to where these home sites are going to be. Page 24 is that list. The lowest home site is 17,800. These are 2019 values, and because this was done right after P&Z before the new values came out, to 108,920. Again, these are, every one of them are manufactured home. I had the complete composition of the property appraiser's information to give to the clerk. Starting at page 25 is affordable housing information. What's the difference? Mr. Camino is going to talk about that. He is in the manufactured home business. But I do want to point out on page 27 that your comprehensive plan housing element says that you should have adequate residential choices. Every Brevard County shall continue to provide for land uses in a wide variety of housing types, price levels, and broad geographic choices. Again, these homes are going to be in the $60,000 to $100,000 range, which is very affordable according to the county's statistics. So just so I can reserve my time, we meet the criteria for rezoning due to compatibility, and the use in the surrounding area is the same. And also we meet the criteria for the CUP. We've met each and every element, including the common open space, which is the biggest requirement in your CUP for cluster homes. So with that, I thank you.
Okay, perfect. I'll reserve the remaining time for rebuttal. Next up, we have Nick DeTore. Okay, and let me just ask, because I don't have a city on this. What's your city of residence, sir? Titusville? Yes, sir. All right, perfect. Next up, Rodney Honeycutt. Welcome up, sir.
Rodney, which one is it? Anyway, Rodney Honeycutt, 3700 South Washington Avenue in Titusville. Mr. Zanka covered everything pretty well. I just want to point out that this area could be developed under the current zoning without providing public sewer, and there could be probably near to the same number of lots, and so my client is offering to put in public sewer for this, and so I think that's a big advantage. And also under the current zoning, the traffic would be at least or more than traffic from 100 units. And I think these were things that I've heard that were brought out that I think was important to mention. And I'll just reserve my time for any questions you might have, if that's okay at the end.
Sure. Commissioner Pritchett?
Question, I was looking at the stormwater plan on this property, and it seems like the pond is all the way up there. How are y'all planning to do the outfall? You do that part, right?
The outfall will have to be at the ditch that traverses through the property.
So that's a lot of pipe, though. Do you have, so you're going to run that pipe all the way?
Yes.
Okay. You answered my question. I was just trying to figure out how you're going to get it there, so, okay.
All right, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up we have Paul Camino from Merritt Island. Welcome, sir.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen of the board, thank you so much for your time. I wonder if this thing is going to work. I noticed you guys had that. Oh,
Maybe we can zoom in a little.
Oh, yeah.
Don, do you know how, is that? Oh, you got it? Perfect.
See, don't ever believe that these old guys don't know tech, right? So my name is Paul Camino. My wife and myself own Home Nation. We are a manufactured housing, modular housing supplier in Cocoa, one of the few, if not the only ones. I have a vested interest in this project in that we hope to be supplying some of the homes with the developers here, working with the developers to provide housing, affordable housing. And I have about 25 years experience in all facets of this industry. Started out in one myself, full disclosure, lived in one for 7 years, and 3.5 kids later, we moved out. But that gave me a leg up, and I have to say that without the affordability component of the home that we lived in starting out, we wouldn't be where we are today. And interestingly enough, the homes that we're selling today, adjusted for inflation, are no more expensive than the ones that we lived in 35 years ago. So, and that brings me to the affordability aspect of this project. And this is, by the way, one of the interiors of one of the homes that we sell. I don't know if you can see that well. Is it upside down? No.
That's all right.
Okay, so we have homes that are anywhere up to $100,000, and that's about a 2,000 square foot home right there, and it's by no means what I would call a low-income housing, but it is affordable housing. And the average median income in this Brevard County for the 5 years before 2018 was about $1,018 a month for rent. I'm sure it's more than that now, but our homes here would be right around that, and they'd be brand new. You can get a home from us for less than rent, okay? Brand new in a community like one of these, this Canaveral Landing. So, and you know, people say, well, they're built to a different code. I was an electrician for a lot of years. The code that they're built to is very little difference substantially than your IRC code that every stick-built house is built to, or what used to be called the Southern Boca Code. The actual electrical, for example, exactly the same code they use, and so on and so forth. So there's no significant difference in building codes. And the biggest thing about this kind of housing is that there is no need whatsoever for any form of government subsidy. The affordability component of this house, of these houses, mean that you can supply all the affordable housing demand in this county without any problem at all, without even having to subsidize it one bit. If we had the land, we could provide all the housing that's needed for everybody in this county that doesn't have something affordable. Any questions?
Thorough job, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, next up we'll have James Conrad from COCO. Yep. Please, sir.
Here?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. That's called Pineacre Estates off of Canaveral Grove Boulevard. On Anway and Hess, I live on this property right there.
Sir, we're going to adjust that projector. I'm sorry. I'll give you a little extra time here too, so we don't penalize you. Thank you, sir.
That's the wrong way? I can't read it upside down.
Will that work?
How's that?
That'll work, sir.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
I've been there 44 years. Where it says wetlands, that whole area was wetlands for all those 44 years. Now, all of a sudden, half of it ain't. And they want to put 100 mobile homes back there on small pieces of property. That's nothing more than a postage stamp piece of property to put all them homes on. Everything out front here is 1 acre lots, 1 mobile home per acre lot, as it is over on Luciano and towards Phil's Way. Did you earlier all get a picture from one of the neighbors about the flooding conditions at Hess Avenue and Anwick?
Sir, I think everyone had received some emails on this one with photos.
That showed where the water was going across Anway. You couldn't even see, you couldn't hardly see the street. The ditch beside it was full like a lake. And the neighbor Joe, his yard was full of water going in to this new project they want to put in. That's way too many mobile homes, too close, and too much traffic, and there's going to be some noise, no matter what. I've been in these type of situations before in my life. You're always going to have that 10% criminal activity possible, drug dealing going on, and some of the places, I don't care how expensive they are, turn into a dump. And with stuff thrown around, trash thrown around, vehicles up on jacks, and people revving their engines up, playing music, and going out anyway, which at this time was the only way in and the only way out. I don't want to walk in my backyard and see 10 to 12 mobile homes looking at me when I'm used to forest, to the woods area, where a lot of animals are, but won't be no more. And like I said, that's way too many and too small of a space. you'll be able to hear the close as they're going to be, you'll be able to hear the next door neighbor fart and fussy commode. And I don't want to hear that either. And there's a little ditch that does run at the end of my property. That fills up quickly from here. It'll run down through here, some of it, and back into here then, and run down that ditch, and then it fills that ditch up that goes around this way to Fountain Pond. And it does overflood, and it has in the past, and it will do it again, especially when you get heavy rains, a lot of heavy rains. And right now, and up on going through Hess, both sides of the street is full of water from the rains that we got the other day. And it's running right into that ditch, and it went up 1.5 feet, the ditch. Another foot, it'll be up on the road, on the street of Amway. But like I said, it's just too many in a short space. When we live on an envelope, they're going to be living on a postage stamp.
Thank you, sir.
Way too close.
Thank you, sir. All right, next.
And too much traffic and too much noise. And wild parties.
All right, next up, we'll have Dan Hunter from COCO. Welcome.
Hello, board members. I can put this down here, please.
Please, sir.
This is just a diagram kind of showing what he was talking about, where we have major flooding. That is a FEMA flood zone map. The highlighted areas are where we have flooding, and as he said, this is not when we have storms. This is last week, a few days ago. We have over 200 signatures now of community members that oppose this development at this location. We feel that having a trailer park dumped in the middle of our rural neighborhood is in no way homogeneous with the existing homes, and asking us to ignore the impact of this is ludicrous. Most homes in Canaveral Groves, as you heard, are 1-acre lots, and that's the reason people have moved out there, to get away from the hustle, bustle, noise, and the zero lot lines. There are a couple trailer parks out there, but none of them encroach into an existing neighborhood. They all have access to a main artery, and they do not affect dissimilar homesteads. I'd like to summarize some of the county's admin policies and guidelines concerning the CUPs, which I'm sure you guys know. But in section 621151C and 621920, they state the proposed CU will not result in a substantial and adverse impact on adjacent and nearby properties due to, 1, the number of persons anticipated to be using, residing, or working under the CU. B, it will be compatible with adjacent and nearby properties with regard to use, function, and amount of traffic generated. A reduction of 10% of the value of a abutting property shall create a presumption that a substantial diminution has occurred. I've heard of no studies on this being presented to show that less than a 10% depreciation value of homes that abut this property. I can almost guarantee that any home that abuts this trailer park, even with a fence around it, is going to have where a trailer park is in your backyard, it will have a depreciative value when you go to resell it. 2A, the ingress and egress of the property and proposed structures therein, such as automotive and pedestrian safety and convenience, traffic flow, and control shall be. Burdening adjacent and nearby uses means increasing existing traffic on the closest corridor or arterial road by more than 20%. Ms. Rosanka uses Canaveral Groves Boulevard as a reference for this comparison. However, the plans are to use Hess Avenue and Anway and now Fountain Palm. The increase of the traffic will be, in our neighborhood, will be well over 20%, especially at an estimated 499 more trips per day in our neighborhood. Historically, the Ann Way extension was never intended to be accessed for this piece of property. It was a county requirement during the development of Pineacre, and that extension was there strictly for access to the power lines.
Mr. Hunter, I'm going to ask if you could wrap it up in a few words here.
Sure, I'm just about done.
Thank you, sir.
The noise from the CU shall not interfere. Well, even a 6-foot fence or whatever they're going to put up kind of fence is not going to affect the noise coming from that area. The existing flue, nor Royal Palms 2, never intended for a trailer park to go into here, as was stated. In fact, the same concept was tried to go in there, and I think she said 89 by Hammocks of Brevard LLC, and it was shot down. In conclusion, we ask the board to consider our concerns and ask yourself, how would I vote if this trailer park was going in my backyard? Most of the zoning board ignored their own guidelines and the concerns for the local citizens on July 7th. We ask that the commissioners not do that.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Snarty?
Sir, I'm just curious, do you yourself live in a manufactured home?
I do, and
Okay.
all the homes in there are not manufactured, by the way.
Thank you, sir.
Uh-huh.
All right, next up we'll have Claude Wheeler from Cocoa, and then the two following Claude will be Angelos Kokosoulis from Cocoa, and then we receive one more, John Shepard from Melbourne. Mr. Wheeler.
Good evening.
Evening, sir.
Last Tuesday, I interviewed the Hess family, Randy Hess and Anna Hess. They said that there was never any intention to build Canaveral Landings into a neighborhood by them. The extension was ended into water, and Phyllis Way dead ends into power lines. I asked her why this was true. She said that the county made them demuck 2 lots bordering Canaveral Landings, said they didn't affect the septic system at all, and they had to pay Watson Paving. There were only 2 lots that were affected, and they gave one of the lots to Watson Paving because they were asked to do this. They also understood that to develop that property, the whole 19 acres up front had to be demucked. So the idea that we got 33 acres and we're going to put 135 or 200, 197 homes on 14 acres. That's what we're talking about. It's pretty much absurd. That's 7 home lots per acre. Sharp's Pine Acres Estates is 110 acres and 96 original home lots. Anway's not an extension road. 96 lots on 110 acres. You're wanting to put 100 lots on 14 acres. This sounds like a campground to me. Now, as far as dumping the traffic from 100 new homes onto a side street, is that normal behavior for the county? You guys do this? Is this what you do? I told Anna Hess what was going on, and she said, that's absolutely ridiculous. They made us put in 2 roads. We don't have to put in 2 roads. We don't have to put in a road. All we need is a driveway. There's hundreds of homes in Brevard County with longer driveways than what's being proposed here for this cluster. So everybody I've spoke to, I did the petition, I talked to everybody involved, I talked to the Hess family. Basically, the truth is they're not wanting to demuck it. We're not even asking that you do that. What we're asking is that you build your own road and have your own entrance to your own neighborhood and not encroach on my property, which is zoned for horses. You don't need to be Superman to know that land zoned for horses is a dangerous place for the horses and everybody involved. There's 45 homes on Hess Avenue, and you want to dump 100 homes onto Hess Avenue. That trebles my traffic. I'm zoned for horses. You want to triple my traffic on a property zoned for horses. There's only 45 homes on Hess Avenue. It's 55 acres for Hess, and it's half of the latter streets. It's only 100, it's 110. You're talking about 14 with the same number. 14 acres with 100 homes, 110 acres with 96 homes. What are we talking about here? You're calling this compatible? They're asking for a variance. Variances are only granted when it's compatible. You don't need to be Superman to figure out what happens. You know, my brother, we own three lots on Hess, three homes. It's been a home to horses. There were 2 horses on my property. Horses are dangerous. Superman knows this. Superman's dead because of horses. You want to triple my traffic and somebody's going to blow the horn. Somebody's going to go backwards on a horse and end up in a wheelchair, and you guys are going to be responsible for it because developers, it's the developer's responsibility to buy suitable property. If you need a road to put your neighborhood together, then go buy 250 loads of dirt and build a road. Don't tell me about a swamp. If
Sir, I
you're
need
going
you
to
to
tell me about
summarize.
a swamp, I want to hear about the swamp in terms of 135 homes. Where are you going to put those? 14 acres? No, you got to demuck the whole thing, just like you told Anna Hess 35, 40 years ago. What's changed here? Why is the county suddenly bending over backwards to help a developer dump a bunch of traffic into rural areas? And if they dump it on Fountain Palm, it's the same story. A cul-de-sac street full of children and toddlers, cul-de-sac. People buy property on cul-de-sac because they don't want traffic. That was never intended as an entrance to 135 homes. You got to go out to Canaveral Groves Boulevard to have 135 homes.
Thank you, sir.
I think you guys are liable, jointly, severally, and the county. Somebody
appreciate
gets
that,
hurt,
sir.
John Morgan's going to turn your houses into a rummage sale.
Thank you, sir.
I'm gonna
Next
come
up,
and
we'll
buy
have
your antiques.
Angelos Kokosoulis. Hopefully this is a little more honey than vinegar. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Your spelling or your pronunciation of my name is correct.
Oh, thank God. All right, thank you.
Right. I'll be very brief.
Thank you.
I live in Canaveral Groves, and I'm here to express my opposition to this project, the Canaveral Landing project. I attended the last meeting of the zoning board, and I was very disappointed to see that the zoning board approved this project. And finally, I just want to urge the commissioners to consider the well-being of the local residents and not the well-being of a single developer. Thank you for listening to me.
I appreciate your patience. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, last up on this item before we go back to the applicant is John Shepard from Melbourne.
Hello, I'm John Shepard.
Welcome, sir.
Thanks. Address is 657 Montreal Avenue. And I'm here to talk about the environmental aspects of the project. I'm the environmental consultant for the applicant. And I don't think I have too much to really say. I think Kim said it very well, talking about the wetland aspects of things. We just don't have the opportunity to come off Canaveral Groves due to the county's current regulations. The only other thing I'll say is during the zoning meeting, a lot of the concerns that were brought up were about scrub jays that were out on the property. And I just wanted y'all to know that we've completed a portion of our scrub jay survey, and to date, we haven't found any jays. If we do find jays in the future, we'll follow all the federal guidelines that we need to follow. That's all I got.
1 second, sir. Commissioner Znardi?
Yes, I was under the understanding that you actually did try to work with the county to find an alternate entrance into that property, but you weren't able to due to the wetland impacts?
Yes, that is true.
Okay.
That is true. We were only allowed to impact 1.8% of the entire acreage of the property. I had in my notes here that the property was 25 acres, but I heard Kimberly mention 33 earlier. So going with the worst case, 33 acres, we only have a maximum impact of just under 0.6 acres of wetlands that we can impact on this property. And there's just no way to get the road in there.
So you can't run south, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Shepard, can you
Yes.
explain this map of scrub jays and when that might have been created?
Sure. So this is, I assume this was taken from the county's website. Can y'all see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And Mr. Zanka, I'm running your time, but I'll give you an extension if you need.
I'll be real quick about this.
Yes, sir.
So this is a scrub jay map which shows potential for scrub jay occupation within certain areas of the county. These maps were first created in 1993 and then updated again in 2002. So just because these maps show there's potential for jays, that's all it is just potential. And the habitat that's there on this site is not really conducive to jay occupation. But again, we will be doing our surveys and we'll figure out if they're there or not.
Commissioner Pritchett? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lober. The couple of comments that were made regarding the flooding, again, we can't contribute to the flooding when this is developed. And there's going to be some culverting also that may help out there. Mr. Hunter has stated a lot of things and has provided a lot of things to you in your packet, including stating that I misguided the Planning and Zoning Board about access, and that is not correct at all. At that point, we only had the access off Anway. We weren't sure if we could use the access from the east off Track D, which we can and are willing to do so. It's a better project if you have two accesses. Regarding him saying all of the land out there is 1 acre lots, that's only to the west, and in fact, only to the east. And to the west, you have third acre lots, quarter acre lots. You have different lot sizes. They're not all 1 acre. Regarding your administrative policy, he provided no evidence. He said we haven't done a study regarding property value decrease. That's not required by your code. That usually is done by someone on the other side. I've never seen it required of any developer to do that. And it's speculative that it will decrease in value, especially when the values of the home going in there are quite a bit higher than those in the surrounding area, as shown by what I've previously showed to you. There's concerns about noise. Again, there are performance standards that have to be met, as you're all aware of. That's not necessarily a zoning concern at this point. The 1989 zoning from TRC1 to TRC1 with a conditional use for 137 cluster homes was approved in 1989. He does not know what he's talking about. Was approved, it was intended to be this exact same concept, except we're limiting to 100 units, not 137 units. Mr. Wheeler talks about Randy Hess and Anna Hess. I have no idea who they are. They did not own this property in 1989 when the rezoning was done. In fact, Kelly Barnes, whom I have spoken to, and Mr. DeTore has spoken to, because he bought that Track D from her, said this was indeed supposed to access off of Fountain Palm Road, and it was to be an extension and it was supposed to be a trailer park. She owned part of the land in 1989. She was a 13% owner, 11% owner in 1989, and also an owner in 2001. Did not consent to the rezoning, but that's another issue. Asked us to build our own road. They're going to have to build the roads through the development, but there's no other way to access this property. And this property has been zoned for this exact same thing in the past. I do want to talk about the other mobile home parks, and I talked in length about this at Planning and Zoning. I didn't do it here, but there is a Sun Lake Estates to the south of this property, across the other side of Canaveral Groves Boulevard. Staff report says it's 1,670 feet to the east. Sorry, so it's to the east. I do get my directions confused. But there is Sun Lake Estates, and there is, if you continue going south, there is a TRC1 with a cluster, and it's got 146 units on 25.26 acres. And this is access through Shepherd Road. It goes right through another mobile home park. So there is definitely some evidence of this being done in the past. And this is right in the same area as what this is being proposed. Other than that, I request that you do allow this to be rezoned to TRC1 with a conditional use permit for cluster homes limited to 100, and we can add if you want. There's a BDP here as well, And we can add, if you would like, that the fence will be installed, and if there's any other conditions you would ask that you're concerned about noise or lighting, which we still have to meet the performance standards, that certainly would be appropriate at this time as well.
Yes, Ms.
Please.
Thank you. Ms. Rosanka, you know, in the past, we've brought projects in, and I have just given you a hard time back access and just haven't approved things. So when I first heard this, I really started doing some research on it. And you know, I went to talk to county staff, and then I asked you, is there another way to do it? And you said, you know, we really can't. And I found out I can't make you not come out the access that it's available for this property. So that argument that I have is over. You have the ability to do that. And then I try to talk you into just doing one, and then of the wisdom of staff, they said, Rita, don't do that, because you want to go ahead and divide that off both sides. So that's at a point, I think that that's no longer an argument. It's just going to have to be there. The interesting part of this is, how long has your client owned this property?
He bought this in December.
Okay, because it's been zoned as TR
One.
trailer parks for, I mean, for me, when I found it's been 20 years. So this has been that personality, and if we don't even do this, this man can go out there and put 100 trailers on it. The only thing they're doing right now is asking for it to be clustered so that they can do something with the other parcels of the land. So you know, as far as, you know, what we're doing here, we're not changing zoning. It's allowed to have that on it. We are not saying you cannot put trailers on it. We have no ability to do that right now. He owns the property, and he has complete right to do that. But what he's trying to do is to put it in projects and groupings. And so on that, again, you said, you know, you would negotiate with us, the CUP, with a couple things. I've got a couple for request. And one, I would ask the wetlands there that you would, guys, maybe would put in there that you'd keep it as a conservation area and you won't develop it.
Yes, we can do that.
I think that would be a wonderful thing to protect that as far as wetlands and stormwater. And you mentioned the fence, so it got my attention, because when I was looking at your plans, you have some kind of a walking trail going around the outside of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that'd be very uncomfortable for the homeowners to have people all of a sudden walking right there. So, and then you only had a 10-foot buffer. So can you tell me how you're going to do that buffer and fence? Because I want to make sure those other property owners feel like they still have their sense of privacy.
It has not been engineered yet, but I mean, they're going to have the buffer and they're going to have the fence. You have to by code. We don't have a choice.
Can we negotiate a little bit of a bigger buffer? You only have 10 foot right now. Will we consider maybe a 25-foot buffer?
I don't know that we have the ability to do that. If you look at the aerial, the homes next to it are all far back from this property. I don't think.
But you have that walking trail right up on it. So I think if you would do a bigger buffer, I'd get more comfortable, or bring that walking trail into the inside of your property, because that's one thing that I thought might be a little more fair for the other residents. And Mr. Honeycutt can kind of answer my question as far as stormwater, because I was wondering how you're going to do that. But if you're willing to put that piping in, that's significant. So my request would be, you know what, you're going to make a nicer project than just putting a lot of trailers in there, which you can do right now. We cannot tell you can't put trailers in. Everybody came here with that thinking. We have no ability to do that. It's already zoned that. It's been zoned that for 20 or 30 years. And some wonderful, kind gentleman called me up and he said he wished he would have bought it a while ago. It was for sale real cheap and he could have kept it. And I said, yeah, you should have, because it was a really very inexpensive price at that time. But if I could negotiate with you a BDP, ma'am, and maybe you need another few weeks to do it when we come back, but maybe if I can negotiate that with you about something about a buffer and how we would do that, that would give me a lot of comfort.
Say 20 feet. I think we can work with that.
Rodney says 20 feet's workable? Is that? Rodney says 20 feet would be available? Is that? Yeah.
Okay, I would be comfortable with that.
Great, thank you.
And then before I turn it over to Commissioner Isdardi, I goofed here a little. I just need to fess up. One of the cards that I pulled to put the last name in, I didn't put back in the correct order. So what I'll do is I'll give them their 3 minutes after Commissioner Isdardi goes, and then Ms. Rosanka, I'll give you the opportunity to cross-examine them. I apologize for that. That's completely my fault. So Kyle and Krista from Vieira, if we could have you all come up. I kind of figured you two were Kyle and Krista. Could I ask you for a last name? If not, I'll just put Doe in there. Doe, fair enough. All right, Mr. and Mrs. Doe from Viera.
So, I'm Kyle. This is my better half, Krista. We are, well, first of all, thank you for your time. We're new to Brevard County. She's from South Florida. I'm from up north. So we've been shopping for a little over 6 months for a home somewhere within Brevard County. We've found nothing under the $200,000 mark that's new or worth investing into. Anything that's under $200,000 is going to be it's going to be a massive rehab project. It's going to take a lot of time. It's not something that it's just not conducive to us starting out. So in our mid-20s, to give you guys an idea of what we're paying, I'm just giving you a real life example, how this would help members of the community. What we're paying for rent right now is $1,400 a month. So we're looking at close to $17,000 a month in rent. And there's nothing under $200,000 new construction within the county that we could even potentially begin to live in or look at. So I work in Cocoa. She works in Viera, here in Viera. We're considering moving down to South Brevard County to live in Barefoot Bay. As you know, that community gives an opportunity for a younger couple or a younger family just starting out to actually have something under that $200,000 price point that's not junk. So we have gone out and looked at this area. We're in talks with the company about purchasing a home and being a member of this community. One thing I will say is the manufactured homes that we've looked at, they're not mobile homes, they're not trailers, they're manufactured homes. They're really nice. And I tend to think they're going to actually improve the property values of the neighboring lots, especially given that many of them are older manufactured homes, some being actual pre-1976 mobile homes. So we think this would be an improvement to the community, and it gives us an opportunity to really get on our feet and cultivate growth within Brevard County. And I just, as a younger couple, seeing the potential for something like this under possibly $150,000, certainly under $200,000 for a new construction for us starting out a family, it's exciting and it gives us a reason to move here. So
welcome to Brevard.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you all. Ms. Ryzenka, I'm doubting your one across. No. Okay. All right. I apologize. Commissioner Isnardi?
Actually, it was just more of a comment after Commissioner
Please.
Pritchett spoke, because this is her area. I think I'm really excited that you support this, because unfortunately, manufactured homes, and I know trailer has a negative connotation, but a manufactured home is a manufactured home. And if they're new, we complain all the time, and I know for me, affordable housing is big. And it's the number one complaint people have when they at least want to talk to me about, their living circumstances. So I'm glad you guys came out to talk about you, and I wish you the best of luck. But I think we need to do more for affordable housing in Brevard County, and this is an option for people. So I think it's a great idea.
Commissioner Smith?
Yeah, I just want.
Oh, hang on. I think you. There you are. Let's try it again.
I'm good.
Yes, I think you're good now.
Okay. I just wanted to chime in a little bit. Back in the mid-'70s to mid-'80s, I bought quite a bit of property in South Jersey, and I was working with a builder, and he came to me one day and said, we should look at these manufactured homes. And he said, quite frankly, you can buy one of these far cheaper than I can build the same quality stick-built. And so I did, and those houses are still standing. They've withstood hurricanes and storms, and they are very nice inside. So just a little add-on there.
For what it's worth, I lived in a manufactured house for some time, or actually technically a townhouse for some time. It's been many years at this point, but it was nice. It held up, and in fact, I had less problems with that property than I do with the house that I built with brick and, pardon me, not brick, but concrete block. So I don't think they're by any means all terrible. Commissioner Pritchett?
My turn to jump in. Where we live in Fox Lake. A manufacturing housing project went in right behind us, Swan Lake, and it's very, very nice. They're nice homes, and it just hasn't been, it's been actually kind of nice, so.
All right, I think we're out of lights here. Commissioner, it's your district.
To approve, and the applicant agreed to the 20-foot buffer, and to place the wetlands in a conservation.
All right, we've got a motion from Commissioner Pritchett, a second from Commissioner Isnardi, just to make sure we have a good record for everyone. Ms. Ryzenka, you're okay with respect to the BDP as discussed? Okay.
Yeah, conservation easement is what we would do. Yes, I'm sorry.
Conservation easement, okay. All right, I'm getting the affirmative from Ms. Ryzenka. All right, everyone understand what we're voting on, the motion that's been seconded? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you all. Okay, so what I'll do, it's 6:54. I'll break for about 10 minutes here, 6:55. I'll break until 7:05. I'm going to make a pit stop here, and hopefully the other folks that haven't had a chance to take a look at that memo that was sent out and that's going to be included with today's minutes will have the opportunity to do that. Thank you all so much.